I should have known something was wrong when Victoria handed me that pristine white box. My wedding day, September 23rd, 2023. The Grand Oakmont Hotel in Charleston, South Carolina, where Spanish moss drapes from centuries-old oak trees and the air smells like magnolias and old money. 200 guests filled the ballroom, crystal chandeliers casting warm light over tables adorned with white roses and gold accents. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. I stood in the bridal suite, staring at my reflection. The dress, vintage lace-fitted bodice, cathedral train, had cost more than my car. My hands trembled as I adjusted the veil. Not from nerves about marrying Ethan. No, I was nervous about them. The Prescotts. "You look beautiful, sweetheart." My mom, Linda, appeared behind me in the mirror. Her eyes were glassy with tears. She wore a simple navy dress from Macy's, the nicest thing she owned. "Your father would be so proud." I squeezed her hand. Dad had passed 3 years ago, leaving us with nothing but medical debt and memories. Mom worked double shifts at the diner to help me through community college. We weren't Prescott material. We weren't even close. A sharp knock interrupted us. "May I come in?" Victoria Prescott's voice carried that particular southern sweetness that could slice through steel. My mother-in-law-to-be entered without waiting for an answer. She wore Chanel, cream-colored, probably cost more than Mom's monthly rent. Her ash-blonde hair was styled in perfect waves, diamonds glittering at her throat and ears. Behind her, Ethan's sister Margot followed, equally polished in rose-colored silk. "Oh." Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes as she looked me over. "How quaint." "Thank you," I said, choosing to take it as a compliment. Victoria's gaze shifted to my mother, and something cold flickered across her face. "Linda, how nice. Would you mind giving us a moment with the bride? Family only." The words hit like a slap. My mother wasn't family yet, but she was the only family I had. Mom's face flushed. "Of course. I'll just—" "Actually," I interrupted, keeping my voice steady, "I'd like Mom to stay." Victoria's smile tightened. "Nonsense. We have gifts to present. It's tradition, Prescott tradition. Margot, dear?" Margot stepped forward, holding an enormous white box wrapped in gold ribbon, the kind of packaging that screamed expensive. My mother squeezed my shoulder and whispered, "It's okay, baby. I'll be right outside." She slipped out before I could protest. As soon as the door clicked shut, the temperature in the room dropped. "Now then." Victoria circled me slowly, like a hawk sizing up prey. "Let's have a little chat, shall we?" My heart hammered. "Is something wrong?" "Wrong." Margot laughed, high and sharp. "Mother, she really doesn't get it, does she?" Victoria stopped in front of me, her blue eyes ice cold. "Olivia. That's your name, correct? Not some shortened version or nickname." "Yes, ma'am. Olivia Catherine Monroe." "Monroe." She repeated it like she'd tasted something sour. "Tell me, dear, what exactly do the Monroes do?" I knew where this was going. "My mom works at a diner." Victoria finished. "Yes. We're aware. And your father was what was it? Factory supervisor?" "Before his unfortunate illness, of course." My nails dug into my palms. "He was a good man." "I'm sure he was." Victoria's tone suggested otherwise. "But let's be frank. You come from nothing. You have nothing. You're nothing. And yet, somehow, you've managed to convince my son, my brilliant, successful son, to marry you." The words stung, but I lifted my chin. "Ethan loves me." "Ethan is confused," Margot interjected. "He's going through a phase. Slumming it with the help. It's actually kind of predictable." Victoria held up a manicured hand. "What my daughter means is that Ethan has always had a soft heart. He sees a wounded bird. He wants to fix it. But marriage? That's different. That's permanent. That's about legacy." She thrust the white box toward me. "Which is why we're here. Open it." My hands shook as I took the box. It was heavier than I expected. I untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, was a thick manila folder. What is this? Read it, Victoria commanded. I pulled out the folder. Inside were legal documents, dense text, official seals. My eyes scanned the first page, struggling to understand the legalese. It's a prenuptial agreement, Victoria explained, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Our lawyers drew it up. Very straightforward. You sign it, the wedding proceeds. You refuse. She shrugged.
Well,
Let's not think about that. My stomach turned. Ethan and I already discussed this. We decided we didn't need. Ethan doesn't know what he needs, Margot snapped. That's why we're here. To protect him from making the biggest mistake of his life. I flipped through the pages. 50 pages of clauses and subclauses. I caught phrases. No claim to Prescott family assets. Forfeiture of spousal support. Waiver of inheritance rights. This is insane. I'm not signing this. Victoria's face hardened. Then there won't be a wedding. You can't I? She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. Listen very carefully, you gold-digging little girl. My family built Prescott Enterprises over 4 generations. We're worth $300 million. Do you really think I'm going to let some diner waitress's daughter waltz in and stake a claim? I never wanted your money. They all say that. Margot examined her nails. Right up until the divorce, when they take half. I love Ethan. That's all that matters. Victoria laughed. A cold, brittle sound.
love.
How adorable. Love doesn't pay for private schools. Love doesn't maintain a family reputation. Love doesn't ensure that the Prescott name continues to mean something in this town. She tapped the folder. You have 2 choices. Sign this, walk down that aisle, and play the part of Mrs. Ethan Prescott. You'll have a comfortable life, as long as you remember your place. Or refuse, and I will walk out there right now and tell my son exactly what kind of woman you really are. What are you talking about? Margot pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. It was me, from 6 years ago, standing outside a casino in Atlantic City. I looked young, hollow-eyed, wearing a cocktail waitress uniform. My blood ran cold. That's right, Victoria purred. We had you investigated. Very thoroughly. 2 years working at the Lucky Diamond Casino. Quite the establishment. And according to our sources, you were quite friendly with the high rollers. I was a waitress. That's all. I needed money for college. We have statements from several men who remember you very well. What do they call it? Extra services? That's a lie. My voice cracked. I served drinks. That's it. I quit because the customers were creepy and the manager was a pervert, but I never. It doesn't matter what's true, Victoria interrupted softly. It matters what people believe. And I can make them believe anything I want. By tomorrow morning, everyone in Charleston, everyone at your wedding, will know about your sordid past. Your mother will be humiliated. Ethan will be destroyed. And you'll be exactly what you've always been. Nothing. Tears burned my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. Not in front of her. So sign the papers, Victoria continued, or I'll ruin you. Your choice. The room spun. I thought about Ethan downstairs, probably joking with his groomsmen, believing he was about to marry the woman he loved. I thought about Mom, waiting outside, so proud of me. I thought about all those guests down there, watching, judging. And I thought about the past 2 years, how hard I'd tried to fit into Ethan's world. The country club dinners where I used the wrong fork. The charity galas where women like Victoria looked through me like I was invisible. The constant, subtle reminders that I didn't belong. My hand moved toward the pen Victoria offered. Then I stopped.
No.
Victoria blinked. Excuse me? I said no. I stood straighter, meeting her gaze. I'm not signing this. And you're not going to ruin anything because I'm going to walk out there and tell Ethan exactly what you just tried to do. Margot gasped. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. I moved toward the door, but Victoria grabbed my arm with surprising strength. If you do this, she hissed, her composure finally cracking, you'll regret it. I will make your life hell. I will turn my son against you. I will. Let go of me. You think you've won something? Victoria's face twisted with rage. You think Ethan will choose you over his family? Over everything we've built? You're delusional. I yanked my arm free and reached for the door handle. That's when Margot said, "Wait, there's something else in the box." I turned. Margot was holding something I hadn't noticed, a small envelope, cream-colored, with my name written in elegant script. What is it? A wedding gift. Victoria's smile returned, sharp as a blade. From the Prescott family. Consider it our final offer. Open it after the ceremony. If you still want to refuse our arrangement, well, let's see how you feel then. She swept past me toward the door, Margot following. Oh, and Olivia? Victoria paused, glancing back. That dress really is quite nice. It would be a shame if something happened to it before the ceremony. Her eyes flickered to the train. White stains so easily, doesn't it? They left. I stood there, shaking, the envelope in my hand. Through the door, I could hear the string quartet beginning to play downstairs. In 15 minutes, I was supposed to walk down that aisle. I looked at the envelope. Whatever was inside, it wasn't good. Victoria didn't do kindness. She did control. But I'd made my choice. I wasn't signing. I wasn't backing down. I tucked the envelope into my bouquet and took a deep breath. Time to get married. The moment I stepped into the hallway, I knew something had changed. Mom was waiting outside, but she wasn't alone. 3 of Victoria's friends, the Charleston Garden Club elite, stood in a tight circle with her. As I approached, their conversation abruptly stopped. One of them, a woman named Diane Whitmore, gave me a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, there's the bride. How lovely." Her voice carried that same sugary venom as Victoria's. "We were just chatting with your mother about the interesting choices you've made with the ceremony." Mom's face was pale. "Honey, I was just telling them about the readings you picked." "We think it's so brave," another woman interrupted, "how you're not letting your background prevent you from aiming high. Really, it's quite inspiring." The word background landed like a punch. They knew. Victoria had already started spreading poison. "Thank you," I managed, taking Mom's hand. "We should get downstairs." As we walked away, I heard the whisper start, not even trying to be subtle. "Can you imagine? His mother must be beside herself. I heard she worked at some casino. You know what that means?"
Poor Ethan.
"He has no idea what he's getting into." Mom's hand trembled in mine. "Liv, what's going on?" "Nothing.
Just cold feet."
Wedding jitters." I squeezed her hand, forcing a smile I didn't feel.
"Come on."
"Let's go make me a married woman." The ceremony was being held in the hotel's grand ballroom, a space that screamed old Southern wealth, crown molding, gold leaf, massive windows overlooking the Charleston harbor. As we approached the entrance, I could see guests milling about, champagne glasses in hand. And I could see Victoria. She stood near the front, surrounded by what looked like half of Charleston's social registry. Her laugh rang out, crystalline and false. When she saw me, our eyes locked. She raised her champagne glass in a mock toast, that cruel smile playing at her lips. She was already telling them, already planting seeds. "Miss Monroe." The wedding coordinator appeared, clipboard in hand, nervously checking her watch. "We're ready to begin. The groom is in position." I nodded, unable to speak. Mom hugged me tight. "I love you, baby. Your daddy would be so proud." Then she was gone, escorted down the aisle to her seat, front row, bride's side, which looked pathetically empty compared to the groom's side, packed with Prescotts and their society friends. The coordinator handed me my bouquet. The envelope Victoria gave me was still tucked inside, its weight suddenly feeling significant. The music changed. Canon in D began to play. This was it. The doors opened. I stepped into the ballroom, and every eye turned to me. 200 faces, watching, judging. I could feel their gazes like physical weight. Some looked genuinely happy. Others, particularly on the groom's side, looked curious, skeptical, even hostile. And then I saw Ethan. He stood at the altar in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, his dark hair slightly messy in that way I loved. When he saw me, his entire face lit up. That smile, genuine, full of love, made everything else fade for just a moment. This was why I was doing this. Him.
Us.
I started down the aisle, my heart hammering. As I passed Victoria's row, I heard it. A whisper, barely audible but intentional.
She's not family.
She'll never be family. I faltered, nearly missing a step. Kept walking. More whispers followed me down the aisle, a chorus of judgment. Did you hear about Atlantic City? Gold digger, I'm telling you. Poor boy doesn't know what he's marrying. Each word was a knife. By the time I reached the altar, I was fighting back tears. Ethan took my hands, his eyes concerned. Hey, he whispered. You okay? You look pale. I'm fine, I lied. Just nervous. The officiant began. I tried to focus on the words, on Ethan, on anything but the whispers that continued behind me like a Greek chorus of cruelty. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. I squeezed Ethan's hands, drawing strength from him. He had no idea what his mother had done, what she was still doing. Should I tell him? Stop the ceremony and expose Victoria right here? But looking at his face, so happy, so full of hope, I couldn't do it.
Not yet.
This was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. If anyone has objections to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence. Heavy, weighted silence. I held my breath. Part of me expected Victoria to stand up, to stop everything, to reveal whatever dirt she thought she had on me. But she stayed seated, that knowing smile on her face. She didn't need to object. She'd already won in her own way, poisoning everyone against me before I'd even said I do. The ceremony continued. Vows were exchanged, Ethan's voice steady and strong, mine barely above a whisper. Rings slipped onto fingers. And then, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Ethan pulled me close and kissed me, and for one perfect moment, the world disappeared. It was just us. Just love. Then he pulled back, grinning. Mrs. Prescott. Mrs. Prescott. The name I'd dreamed of. The name Victoria had made feel like a curse. The guests applauded, polite, restrained applause from the groom's side, enthusiastic cheering for my small section. As we walked back down the aisle together, I caught Victoria's eye again. She was watching me with the expression of someone who'd just played a winning hand in poker. Satisfied. Victorious. What did she know that I didn't? The reception was held in the adjoining ballroom. White tablecloths, gold chargers, centerpieces of white roses and hydrangeas. A band played soft jazz in the corner. Waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. It was beautiful. It was elegant. It was exactly what the Prescotts would expect.
And it was agony.
Ethan held my hand as we made the rounds, greeting guests. Each conversation was torture. Congratulations, dear. One of Victoria's friends cooed, looking me up and down. Such a surprising match. Ethan, darling, another said, pointedly ignoring me. Your mother mentioned you're expanding the Charleston office. How exciting for the family. The word family was always emphasized. Always a reminder that I wasn't really part of it. Ethan seemed oblivious, just happy to be married. But I noticed Margot circulating through the crowd, leaning in to whisper to guests, their eyes then flickering to me with new understanding, new judgment. She was spreading the casino story. I could see it happening in real time, the subtle shift in expressions, the way people began looking at me differently.
Liv.
Ethan squeezed my hand. You sure you're okay? You seem a million miles away. I'm fine. Really. Just overwhelmed. It's a big day. He kissed my temple. I know. But hey, we did it. You're stuck with me now. Forever? I agreed, managing a real smile for the first time since entering the bridal suite. Attention, everyone. The band leader's voice rang out. The bride and groom will now share their first dance. Ethan led me to the dance floor. As the opening notes of At Last by Etta James began to play, he pulled me close. I love you, he whispered in my ear. I know my family can be intense, but this is about us. Okay? Just us. I rested my head on his shoulder, letting the music carry us. For 3 minutes and 15 seconds, I let myself believe him. Let myself imagine that love would be enough. That Victoria's poison wouldn't seep into everything we built together. Then the song ended, and reality crashed back. Time for the toasts, the band leader announced. My stomach dropped. I'd forgotten about the toasts. Ethan's best friend, Christopher, went first, a funny, touching speech about their college years, about the moment Ethan met me, and couldn't shut up about this amazing woman from the coffee shop. People laughed, genuinely charmed. Then Margot stood up. My turn, she announced, glass in hand. Her smile was sharp. As Ethan's sister, I've known him his whole life. I've watched him grow, succeed, become the amazing man he is today. And I've watched him date some interesting women. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. But Olivia is certainly the most unexpected. Margot's eyes found mine across the room. None of us saw this coming. I mean, she's just so different from everyone else in the family. So ordinary. Ethan's hand tightened on mine. Margot, what are you? I'm saying, she continued, her voice taking on a syrupy sweetness, that it takes a special kind of woman to pursue a man like my brother. A determined woman. An ambitious woman. The kind of woman who knows exactly what she wants and exactly how to get it. The room had gone quiet. People were shifting uncomfortably. Margot, Ethan said louder now. That's enough. I'm just saying. Margot raised her glass. Here's to Olivia. May she enjoy all the benefits of being a Prescott. For as long as it lasts. She drank. The room erupted in uncomfortable murmurs. Ethan stood abruptly. What the hell was that? Just a toast, brother. Don't be so sensitive. Margot sat down, looking pleased with herself. I felt sick. Every eye in the room was on me now, reassessing, judging. Then Victoria stood. My turn, she announced, her voice cutting through the noise. As the mother of the groom, I believe I'm entitled. Mom, maybe we should just... Ethan started. Nonsense. I have some things to say. Victoria picked up her champagne glass, her eyes locked on mine. Olivia, welcome to the Prescott family. We have high standards, great expectations, and a legacy that spans generations. I hope you understand what you've married into. The responsibility, the scrutiny, the obligations. She paused, letting her words sink in. But I'm confident you do understand. After all, you've proven yourself to be quite resourceful, haven't you? My heart stopped. So here's my gift to you, dear daughter-in-law. Some advice. In this family, we value honesty, integrity, transparency. We don't keep secrets. Her smile was poisonous. And we certainly don't tolerate deception. She raised her glass. To Ethan and Olivia. May their marriage be built on truth. The room toasted. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Ethan turned to me, confused and angry. What is she talking about? What secrets? I don't. Actually, Victoria interrupted. Why don't we all find out? Olivia, dear, did you open your gift yet? The one Margot and I gave you earlier? The envelope. Still in my bouquet. Sitting on the sweetheart table. Open it, Victoria commanded, her voice carrying across the silent room. Share it with everyone. Let's have complete transparency on your wedding day. Every guest was watching now. Waiting. Ethan looked at me, then at his mother, then back at me. Liv, what gift? My hands shook as I walked to the sweetheart table and retrieved my bouquet. The cream envelope slipped out, landing on the table with a soft thud. Open it, Victoria repeated. Unless you have something to hide? I picked up the envelope. Whatever was inside, it was Victoria's final play. Her checkmate. She wouldn't have built up to this moment unless she was certain it would destroy me. But I'd come this far. I'd refused to sign her prenup. I'd walked down that aisle despite the whispers. I wasn't backing down now. With trembling fingers, I opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph. And when I saw it, my entire world stopped. The photograph slipped from my fingers, fluttering to the table. Ethan picked it up. His face went pale. What is this? I couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. The photo showed me and a man, mid-40s, expensive suit, his arm around my waist. We were standing outside the Lucky Diamond Casino, both smiling. But it was the way he was touching me, the familiarity of the pose, that made it look intimate. Damning. That's Jeremy Blackwell, Victoria announced to the room, her voice triumphant. Married. Father of 3. CEO of Blackwell Industries. And according to our investigation, he was a regular client of Olivia's during her time at the casino. Gasps rippled through the crowd. That's not... I started, but my voice broke. Not what? Margot stood up, pulling out her phone. Not true? Because we have more. Bank records showing wire transfers from Jeremy Blackwell to Olivia Monroe. $5,000 a month. For 2 years. The room erupted in whispers. I felt everyone's eyes on me, burning with judgment. Ethan stared at the photo, his face a mask of confusion and hurt. Liv, what is this? Why would this man be sending you money? It's not what it looks like. I managed, tears streaming down my face. Ethan, please let me explain. Oh, this should be good, Margot said. Victoria stepped closer, moving in for the kill. The truth, Olivia, is that you targeted my son. You saw a wealthy, lonely man, and you latched on. Just like you latched onto Jeremy Blackwell, and who knows how many others. You're exactly what I thought you were. A con artist. He was my father. The words came out before I could stop them.
Loud. Clear.
Cutting through all the noise. The room went dead silent. Ethan looked up from the photo. What? I wiped my tears, my hands shaking. Jeremy Blackwell is my biological father. Victoria's smile faltered. That's absurd. Your father was Robert Monroe.
Yes.
The man who raised me. The man I called Dad. I turned to face the crowd, my voice stronger now. But he wasn't my biological father. My mom and Jeremy had an affair 28 years ago. She was a secretary at his company. He was married. When she got pregnant, he wanted her to not have me. She refused. She quit. She met Robert, told him the truth, and he married her anyway. He raised me as his own. He was my real dad in every way that mattered. I picked up the photograph, holding it up for everyone to see. This picture? It was taken 6 years ago. The night Jeremy Blackwell finally tracked me down. He'd been looking for years. He wanted to meet me, to know me, to try to make up for abandoning my mother. My voice cracked. I told him I wanted nothing to do with him, but he said he wanted to help. That he'd failed me once, and wouldn't do it again. He set up a trust fund. $5,000 a month to help me get through college, to give me opportunities one wouldn't have had otherwise. I didn't want to take it, but my mom convinced me. She said I should let him do this one good thing. I looked at Ethan, pleading for him to understand. I never told you, because it didn't matter. Jeremy isn't my father. Robert Monroe was. Jeremy is just a stranger who shares my DNA. A stranger who felt guilty and tried to buy forgiveness. Ethan stared at me, processing. The hurt in his eyes was devastating. Why didn't you tell me? His voice was barely a whisper. Because it's not a story I like to tell. Because I didn't want people to look at me differently. To see me as the product of an affair, or as someone who took money from a married man, or... I gestured to the room, to all the judging faces. Or this.
I didn't want this.
Victoria stepped forward, but she'd lost some of her confidence. Even if that's true. It is true. A voice called out from the back of the room. Everyone turned. A man stood in the doorway. Mid-60s, silver hair, expensive suit. His face was weathered but kind, his eyes sad. Jeremy Blackwell. What are you doing here? Victoria demanded. Jeremy walked into the room, his gaze fixed on me. I got a call from a private investigator yesterday, asking questions about Olivia, about money I'd sent her. I knew something was wrong. He turned to Victoria. So I called in some favors, found out about this wedding, and came to make sure she was okay. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through something. Everything Olivia said is true. She is my biological daughter. The result of a mistake I made 28 years ago with a woman I cared about but couldn't stay with. His voice was thick with regret. Linda Monroe was brave enough to have her baby and strong enough to raise her with a good man who loved them both. I was a coward who hid behind my marriage and my career and told myself it was for the best. He held up his phone, showing a document. This is a DNA test. Conducted 6 years ago when I first contacted Olivia. 99.9% match. She's my daughter. The room was completely silent. Jeremy's eyes found mine. And she's an incredible woman. She didn't want my money. She didn't want my name. She just wanted to live her life, to make her own way. When I insisted on helping, she used every penny for college. She graduated summa cum laude from Charleston College, worked 2 jobs the entire time, and never once asked me for anything beyond what I forced on her. He turned to Ethan. Your wife is not a con artist, Mr. Prescott. She's the strongest person I know. And if you're half as smart as I've been told, you'll see past whatever poison your family has been feeding you and recognize what you have. Then Jeremy looked at Victoria, and his expression hardened. As for you, Mrs. Prescott, I'll be sending my lawyers tomorrow. That photograph was stolen for my personal effects. The bank records you referenced are private financial information obtained illegally. If you don't issue a public apology to Olivia within 24 hours, I'll sue you for defamation, invasion of privacy, and whatever else my legal team can think of. And trust me, my legal team is very creative. Victoria's face went white. You can't. I can. I will. You try to destroy my daughter on her wedding day. There will be consequences. He walked over to me, his eyes glistening. Olivia, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. If I'd been braver 28 years ago, if I'd done the right thing, you wouldn't be dealing with this now.
I didn't know what to say.
This man was a stranger, but he'd just defended me in front of everyone. Had just exposed his own shame to protect me. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded, squeezed my hand, and then left as abruptly as he'd arrived. The room remained frozen. Then slowly people began to move. Some guests were whispering, others looking uncomfortable. A few were glaring at Victoria. Ethan still stood there, the photograph in his hand. Ethan, I said softly. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I should have. I didn't know how. He looked up at me, and I couldn't read his expression. Hurt? Anger? Understanding? I need some air, he said finally and walked out. I stood there, alone in the middle of the ballroom, in my wedding dress, feeling like my entire world was collapsing. Then my mom appeared at my side. She pulled me into a fierce hug. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. So proud. Mom, You stood up for yourself. You told the truth. And you did it with more grace than most people could ever manage. She pulled back, cupping my face. Let him process. He'll come around. He loves you. I wanted to believe her. But as I looked around the room, at Victoria's furious face, at Margot's shocked expression, at all the guests whispering and staring, I wasn't sure love would be enough. I found Ethan on the hotel's garden terrace, overlooking the harbor. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. He stood with his hands in his pockets, staring out at the water. Hey, I said softly. He didn't turn around. Hey. I walked up beside him, maintaining some distance. I understand if you're angry. I'm not angry. His voice was flat. I'm trying to figure out why you didn't trust me enough to tell me. It wasn't about trust. Then what was it? Now he turned, and I saw the hurt in his eyes. We've been together for 2 years. 2 years, Liv. We talked about everything. Our dreams, our fears, our pasts. And you never once mentioned that you have a biological father who sends you money. That seems like kind of a big deal. I know. You're right. I should have told you. I took a breath. But honestly, I didn't think about Jeremy as my father. He's just this guy. This guilty stranger who shows up occasionally, sends checks, and tries to ease his conscience. Robert Monroe was my dad. When I talked about my father, I meant him. But your mother knew. Jeremy knew. And you knew. Everyone knew except me. Because it didn't matter. My voice rose. It doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change us. Doesn't it? Ethan ran a hand through his hair. Because right now I'm realizing that my wife, has been keeping secrets from me. And I'm wondering what else you haven't told me. The words stung. There's nothing else. Ethan, I love you. That's the only truth that matters. He looked at me for a long moment, his jaw tight. My mother told me you refused to sign a prenup. My heart sank. She told you about that? She called me 20 minutes ago. Said you were being difficult and that I should know what I'm getting into. He laughed bitterly. Apparently, she's been trying to protect me from you this whole time. Ethan, that prenup was insane. It wasn't about protecting you. It was about controlling me. About making sure I knew I'd never really be part of your family. Maybe she had a point. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stepped back, tears stinging my eyes. You don't mean that. I don't know what I mean anymore. He turned back to the harbor. I thought I knew you, Liv. But standing in that ballroom, watching everything unfold, I realized I don't. Not really. Then get to know me, I pleaded. Ask me anything. I'll tell you everything. No more secrets. I promise. It's not about questions and answers. His voice was tired. It's about trust. And right now, I don't know if I can trust you. The world tilted beneath me. This was it. This was Victoria winning. She'd poison him against me, just like she'd promised. So, what are you saying? My voice trembled. You want to end this? On our wedding night? He didn't answer right away. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, he said, I need time to think, to process all of this. Okay. I wiped my tears. I'll give you time. But Ethan? I love you. That hasn't changed. And I'm not going anywhere. He nodded, but didn't look at me. I stood there for another moment, hoping he'd turn around, pull me into his arms, tell me everything would be okay. He didn't. So I left him there and walked back into the ballroom alone. The reception had mostly cleared out. A few guests remained, drinking and talking in hushed tones. Victoria and Margot were gone, fled before the embarrassment could fully set in. My mom sat at a table with a glass of wine, looking exhausted. I collapsed into the chair beside her. Where's Ethan? She asked. Processing. She squeezed my hand. He'll come around, baby. He just needs time. What if time isn't enough? What if Victoria's already won? Victoria hasn't won anything. She exposed herself as a cruel, manipulative woman. Everyone saw it. But Ethan still doubts me. He thinks I've been lying to him. Mom sighed. You weren't lying. You were protecting yourself. There's a difference. She paused. Though, honey, you should have told him about Jeremy. Not because it changes anything, but because secrets have a way of becoming weapons. And Victoria turned this into a weapon against you. I know. I put my head in my hands. I know. A waiter approached nervously. Mrs. Prescott? I'm so sorry to interrupt, but there's something you should see. In the gift room. I looked up. What? Just, you should see it. Please. Confused, I followed him to the small room where wedding gifts had been displayed. Tables lined with elegantly wrapped boxes, cards, envelopes. Except now, one table had been cleared, and in the center sat a single box. Large, white, gold ribbon. The box Victoria had given me in the bridal suite. The one with the prenup. We found it a few minutes ago, the waiter said. It was left open and there's, well, look. I approached the box. The manila folder with the prenup was still inside, but now there was something else. A smaller box. Black velvet. The kind that holds expensive jewelry. With shaking hands, I opened it. Inside was a diamond necklace. Enormous, glittering, clearly worth tens of thousands of dollars. And a card. I picked up the card. It was written in Victoria's precise handwriting. To remind you of your place. You may wear the name Prescott, but you'll never wear our legacy. This necklace belonged to Ethan's grandmother. It should have gone to his wife, but not to someone like you. Consider this our parting gift. A reminder that no matter how hard you try, you'll always be the girl from the diner. You'll never be one of us. My hands trembled with rage. This was Victoria's final insult. Showing me the family heirloom I'd never be worthy of wearing, then taking it back. Rubbing my face in everything I couldn't have. Except, I looked closer at the box. At the necklace. Something seemed off. I pulled out my phone and took a picture, then did a reverse image search. My heart stopped. The necklace in the photo was slightly different from the one in the box.
Different clasp.
Different setting. This necklace was a replica. A fake. Victoria had given me a fake heirloom, thinking I wouldn't know the difference. Thinking I'd wear it, show it off, and eventually someone would notice it was costume jewelry. Another humiliation. Another way to prove I didn't belong. But she'd made a mistake. I scrolled through my search results and found an article from 2 years ago. Historic Prescott diamond necklace sells at auction for $2.3 million. The real necklace, the actual family heirloom, had been sold 2 years ago, before I'd even met Ethan. Which meant the Prescott family finances weren't as solid as everyone thought. They were selling heirlooms, keeping up appearances while hemorrhaging money behind the scenes. I took screenshots of everything, my mind racing. Then I called Jeremy Blackwell. He answered on the second ring. Olivia? Are you alright? I need a favor. A big one. 24 hours later, I stood outside the Prescott estate in Mount Pleasant, a sprawling antebellum mansion that had been in the family for 5 generations. White columns, wraparound porch, magnolia trees dotting the perfectly manicured lawn. I'd been here dozens of times, but I'd always felt like a visitor. Like I was touring a museum, not entering a home. Today, that was about to change. Jeremy stood beside me, along with his attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chun who looked like she could dismantle a corporation before breakfast. You're sure about this? Jeremy asked. Positive. Once we walk in there, there's no going back. Good. I straightened my shoulders. Let's go. We walked up to the front door. I didn't knock, I used the key Ethan had given me 3 months ago. The key Victoria had told him not to give me, that I wasn't ready for. The door swung open to reveal Victoria, Margot, and Ethan's father, William, sitting in the parlor. They looked up, startled. What are you doing here? Victoria stood, her face flushing. You're not welcome in this house. Actually, Patricia said smoothly, she's very welcome. She's family. Or have you forgotten that your son married her yesterday? That marriage won't last, Margot sneered. Ethan's already talking about annulment. My heart clenched, but I kept my face neutral. Is he here? He's in the study, William said quietly. He looked tired, older than I remembered. He's been there all night. Let him be, Victoria snapped. You've done enough damage. Funny, I said, walking into the parlor. I was going to say the same thing about you. I pulled out a folder, not the prenup, but something else. I set it on the coffee table. What is this? Victoria asked. Open it. She didn't move, so Margot grabbed it. She flipped through the pages, her face going pale. Where did you get this? Jeremy's investigators are very thorough, I said. Turns out, when you hire people to dig up dirt on someone, you leave a trail. And when those investigators get curious about who's paying them and why, they sometimes do a little extra digging. Patricia stepped forward. What you're looking at, Mrs. Prescott, is a comprehensive audit of Prescott Enterprises' finances. Particularly interesting are the sections on embezzlement, tax fraud, and asset liquidation. Victoria's face went white. That's confidential. It's evidence, Patricia corrected. Evidence that you've been systematically draining the company for the past 3 years, selling off assets, including family heirlooms, while maintaining the facade of wealth. You've been spending beyond your means for so long that the company is on the verge of bankruptcy. William stood abruptly. That's absurd. Victoria, tell them. Shut up, William, Victoria hissed. He stared at her, realization dawning. Oh my God, it's true. Page 15, I said, shows a particularly interesting transfer. $3 million moved from the company to a personal account in the Cayman Islands. Your personal account, Victoria. Margot was still flipping through pages, her hand shaking. Mom, what did you do? I did what I had to do, Victoria said sharply. To maintain our position. Our reputation. The Prescott name means something in this town. Meant, I corrected. Past tense. Because once this becomes public, and it will, the Prescott name will be synonymous with fraud. You wouldn't dare, Victoria breathed. Try me. I stepped closer. You tried to destroy me yesterday. You humiliated me in front of 200 people. You poisoned my husband against me. You dug into my past, invaded my privacy, and tried to make me feel like I was nothing. My voice was steel.
So yes,
I would absolutely dare. Patricia placed another document on the table. However, my client is willing to offer an alternative. What kind of alternative? William asked, looking desperate. A simple one. Victoria issues a public apology to Olivia, a real one, admitting what she did and why. She steps down from her position at Prescott Enterprises immediately. And she signs over her shares of the company to Ethan, effective immediately. Absolutely not, Victoria spat. The alternative, Patricia continued calmly, is that we release all of this to the press. The FBI's Financial Crimes Division is also very interested. I suspect they'll have questions about tax evasion, wire fraud, and about a dozen other felonies. The room went silent. You're bluffing, Margot said weakly. Am I? I pulled out my phone and held up the screenshots from last night. You gave me a fake necklace, Victoria. Tried to humiliate me one last time. But what you didn't realize is that I'd recognize it was fake. Which made me curious about why you'd have a replica of a family heirloom in the first place. I showed them the auction listing. The real necklace sold 2 years ago. For $2.3 million. Money that should have gone to the company, but somehow ended up in that Cayman Islands account instead. William sank back into his chair. Victoria, how bad is it? She didn't answer. The company is 6 months from insolvency, Patricia said. Mrs. Prescott has been using incoming investment to pay off old debts while siphoning money into personal accounts. It's a classic Ponzi scheme, just dressed up in Southern gentility. I was protecting this family, Victoria said desperately. Everything I did was to protect what we've built. You were protecting yourself, I interrupted. And you were willing to destroy me to keep your secrets hidden. Because if Ethan married someone from outside your circle, someone who might actually look at the books, your whole house of cards would collapse. Understanding dawned on William's face. That's why you wanted the prenup. Not to protect Ethan from her, to protect yourself from scrutiny. Victoria's silence was answer enough. The study door opened. Ethan emerged, looking haggard. He'd clearly heard everything. Ethan, Victoria started. Is it true? His voice was hollow. All of it. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time since I'd met her, Victoria Prescott had nothing to say. Ethan looked at the documents spread across the table, then at his mother. You destroyed my wedding to hide your crimes? I was trying to protect you. By ruining the woman I love? His voice rose. By humiliating her in front of everyone we know? By making her feel like she was worthless? He turned to me, his eyes glistening. Liv, I'm so sorry. I should have believed you. I should have stood by you. You were manipulated, I said softly. By someone you trusted. He crossed the room and took my hands. I don't deserve you. After how I acted yesterday, after doubting you, I don't deserve you. But if you'll have me, I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I looked into his eyes and saw the man I'd fallen in love with. Hurt, confused, but genuine. We'll figure it out, I said. Together. He pulled me into a tight embrace. Over his shoulder, I saw Victoria watching us, her perfect facade finally crumbling. So, Patricia said, do we have a deal? Public apology, resignation, Transfer of shares? Or do we go to the press and the FBI? William spoke before Victoria could. We'll do it. Whatever you want.
Please.
Don't destroy what's left of this family. William, Victoria protested. Enough, he said firmly. You've done enough damage. It's time to face consequences. Patricia pulled out papers she'd prepared in advance. Sign here.
And here.
Initial here. Victoria looked at the documents, then at me. For a moment, I saw something other than hatred in her eyes.
Fear. Defeat.
Maybe even a glimmer of respect.
She signed.
3 months later, I stood in the same parlor, but everything was different. The house had been refinanced. Victoria had moved to a smaller property in West Ashley, her social standing in tatters after her public apology. Margot had cut contact with most of the family, humiliated by the scandal. William was in therapy, trying to process his wife's betrayal. And Ethan and I? We were rebuilding.
Slowly.
Honestly. With no more secrets between us. He'd taken over the company, bringing in new management and working to repair the damage his mother had done. It would take years, but he was determined. You ready? Ethan asked, coming up behind me and wrapping his arms around my waist. Ready for what? Company party. Our first one since everything. I turned to face him. Are you sure? People will talk. Let them talk. He kissed my forehead. You saved this company. You saved my family, even though we didn't deserve it. If anyone has a problem with that, they can find another job. Mom appeared in the doorway, carrying a tray of hors d'oeuvres. She'd been helping with the party setup, refusing to let us hire caterers. Everything's ready. Guests are arriving. And they were. Not the same crowd from our wedding. These were employees, real friends, people who'd stood by us through the scandal, including Jeremy Blackwell, who'd become a tentative but genuine presence in my life. As guests filtered in, I caught my reflection in the parlor mirror. I was wearing a dress Ethan had bought me, simple, elegant, expensive. But more than that, I was wearing confidence.
Pride.
The knowledge that I belonged here because I'd earned it, not because I'd married into it. Mrs. Prescott? A young woman approached, one of the junior accountants. I just wanted to say, thank you.
For everything you did.
My job, my team's jobs, you saved them. You saved all of us. I just did what was right, I said. No. She shook her head. You did what was brave, what was necessary. You stood up to people with power, and you won. That's everything. After she walked away, Ethan squeezed my hand.
See?
You're not just Mrs. Prescott. You're the woman who saved Prescott Enterprises. We saved it, I corrected.
Together.
He smiled, that genuine, loving smile that had made me fall for him in the first place.
Together.
As the party continued around us, I thought about that moment in the bridal suite. Victoria handing me that white box, trying to make me feel small, trying to make me understand that I'd never be family. She'd been right about one thing. I wasn't like the Prescotts. I didn't have their old money, or their social pedigree, or their carefully cultivated reputation. But I had something better. I had integrity. I had courage. I had the strength to stand up for myself and for what was right, even when it would have been easier to back down. And in the end, that was worth more than any family name could ever be. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I underestimated you. That won't happen again.
V.
I smiled and deleted the message. Victoria was still out there, probably plotting her comeback. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Let her come. I'd be ready. Ethan pulled me onto the makeshift dance floor as the band started playing. What are you thinking about? He asked. Just how far we've come, I said. How much has changed? Any regrets? I looked around the room, at my mother laughing with William, at Jeremy chatting awkwardly with some executives, at all the people who'd become part of my new, complicated, beautiful family. Not a single one, I said. And as we danced, surrounded by people who'd learned to respect me not for my name but for my actions, I finally understood something. Family isn't about blood or social status or old money. Family is about who stands beside you when everything falls apart, who fights for you even when it costs them everything, who sees you at your worst and loves you anyway. And by that definition, I had more family than Victoria Prescott ever would. The music swelled. Ethan held me closer. And for the first time since that white box appeared in my bridal suite, I felt truly, completely at peace. I was Olivia Catherine Prescott, and I'd earned every syllable of that name.